they provide a little service business to the new coming factory girls.
Which is what is so deeply annoying and actually quite insulting in South Africa, where we have a political imperative, which is we need to create decent jobs. And you talk to somebody like Rob Davies, you say, surely a job is better than no job. And a job is a decent job, even if it is not a great job. And possibly that is one of the reasons why we lost 1 million jobs last year and why we're struggling to recreate those.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I think the more adjectives you put in front of jobs, as Trevor Manuel put it, the less jobs we'll get. The biggest crisis facing South Africa is unemployment. And last year we put out a publication calling for, it was provocative, saying let's get 5 million new jobs. Now how are we going to do it? Well, we know that if we keep on doing what we've been doing all the time, you won't do that. And that was before we lost, it's about 80,000 jobs that we lost last year, not 1 million. But
we round them up for effect,
no,
yes.
yeah, but it's, I mean, we're now over 6 million people unemployed. And I think you have to look at every other region of the world where they have gone in for low-cost manufacturing for people who are unskilled, inexperienced, and these people get a formal job. And the benefits of getting a formal job are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Get work discipline, you learn all sorts of things on the job that you don't get sitting unemployed or getting benefits. And so that is the most crucial debate South Africa could be having today.
Let's close this loop, because we're talking about why companies are, rub their hands and are fawning and almost apologizing for existing. In South Africa, the business community arguably has got a much better relationship now with the current government than it had with previous governments. It's always been an antagonistic relationship. What should business leaders be doing in this environment, in their discussions with government, to say, right, let's back off from this. Let's ensure that we give South Africa hope. Hope comes through jobs. How do we do that effectively? Scrap the labour laws. Tito Mboweni would support you, even though he created the labour laws on that particular front.
I think we have to start a conversation that's a bit different. You and I can probably agree, but then we probably sit in very similar places in our society.
It's very easy. It's very easy when you're comfortable. Yeah.
That's right. And what's important is to start a conversation with a vision for the future, which is, and I think business leadership is starting to do this. They're saying, how do we think about a South Africa where we've trebled the economy and per capita income in the next, say, 20 to 30 years? What do we have to do to get there? So let's agree on the vision. Now let's argue about how to get there. And that's exactly what we were doing with the 5 million job thing. And we're saying to business leadership, we have to find bridges of understanding and common sort of goals between South Africans who sit in different places. And then we have to do some hard talking about the choices we need to make. And I don't think that's started yet, whether it's in education and the fact that we sit with a weak education system, which really doesn't hamper me, but hampers poorer South Africans.
Correct.
And we're just doing some research where it's emerging that South African teachers do not send their kids to their own schools. Well, that's the conversation we have to have. You cannot have teachers who are totally unaccountable, who get very little support, frankly, but who operate as though it doesn't matter. If they have another job, don't go to school, don't teach, and the results don't matter. That's the conversation we have to have. It's a very simple
solution. You force government ministers to send their own kids to local state schools.
Absolutely. I think we should be publicising where cabinet ministers send their kids to school and what that then means. And we're doing a fascinating project on private schooling for poorer South Africans, which we're going to release very soon, where we've been walking the streets of 6 regions of the country, trying to identify the public school and then the private school. And we're finding that poorer South Africans, who are like anyone else, are voting with their feet. They're prepared to pay their own money to get their kid into a relatively better school.
Business needs to develop more of a backbone in an environment which is quite hostile towards business. Competition authorities have a role to play, but they've been very hard on businesses that haven't been seen to be cooperative. It's that sort of environment where regulators dictate who does and doesn't get banking license, who does and doesn't get broadcasting licenses. It's a very tightly regulated environment. Companies have to be seen to toe the line to some degree. And within that context, have that backbone, that moral fibre, which is required to ensure that actually everybody's better off in the long term.
Yes, my book is arguing, and in Martin Wolf of the Financial Times has said it gives it should give business leaders the confidence to stand up for what they do. And I am very strongly advocating that business people need to stop having one conversation in their private dining rooms and another conversation in public. They are citizens of the country. They need to look at their own interests in a more stable, prosperous country and the interests of the country, and they should be engaging in more strategic interventions, both publicly and privately, to change the direction of South Africa. Now, business is a complicated entity. You know, a lot of people talk about government and then they use business as an equivalent. We know that people in business and entrepreneurs are individualistic, often ego-driven people who are the sorts of people who say, I can do this better than you, and I'm going to put you out of business. So to get this individualistic sector of our society to act collectively is hard.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who criticize business don't appreciate that. Having said that, I do think business leaders have collapsed globally and here often in the face of attacks on the contribution they make to society, the good that they do, and their right to exist without apology. And I hope that a lot of the issues and facts and arguments in my book will provoke a more informed debate and a heated debate on a lot of these issues in South Africa and elsewhere.
Ann Bernstein, good to see you. Thank you for coming in and explaining that. As one chief executive said to me the other day, he said, don't quote me, which is maybe part of the problem, but he did say, it's pointless having a great business in a failing country. And that is the big challenge for business, I suspect. Ann Bernstein is an author, also the head of the Centre for Development and Enterprise.